The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan gleamed under the sodium lamps as I stood outside the towering glass facade of Harrington Enterprises, my heart pounding like a trapped animal. My boss, Richard Harrington, had just dropped the bomb in his corner office. Pretend to be his son's boyfriend at the family gala tomorrow night, or kiss my promotion goodbye. Little did I know, Jordan Harrington's piercing gaze across the crowded room that evening would unravel every lie I'd spun, pulling me into a storm of desire and deceit I never saw coming. I wiped the sweat from my palms on my slacks, the elevator ride up to the penthouse feeling like an ascent to my own execution. It was my third year as a junior analyst at the firm, clawing my way up from intern coffee runs to spreadsheets that could make or break multi-million-dollar deals. Richard was a titan, silver-haired, impeccably tailored, with a voice that commanded boardrooms like a general on the battlefield. He'd always been fair to me, almost paternal in his gruff way, but tonight, over a glass of scotch that burned more like accusation than comfort, he'd revealed his desperation. "Alex, you're discreet, reliable, and—" He paused, swirling the amber liquid, his eyes flicking to the family photo on his desk, his late wife beaming beside a teenage Jordan, all awkward limbs and defiant curls. "You're one of us, or close enough." The implication hung heavy. I was gay, or at least out enough in the office whispers to pass muster. Jordan, his only son, was the golden boy turned problem child, brilliant architect, but openly queer in a world of old-money conservatives who still whispered about the Harrington scandal from 5 years back, when Jordan had come out amid a tabloid frenzy. The gala was black tie, a glittering affair at the Metropolitan Museum of Art to celebrate the firm's 50th anniversary. Richard's inner circle, investors, politicians, the kind of people who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen, expected perfection. And perfection meant Jordan showing up with a stable partner, not the string of one-night stands that had fueled the latest round of society page gossip. "Just one night," Richard had pleaded, his usual steel cracking. "Make him look settled. I'll fast-track that VP slot you've been eyeing." I should have said no. God, I should have. But ambition is a cruel master, and at 28, with student loans gnawing at my heels and a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn mocking my dreams, I nodded. "One night," I echoed, sealing my fate. The next evening, I arrived at the museum early, tuxedo rented and ill-fitting, my reflection in the marble lobby mirror showing a man playing dress-up. The air hummed with string quartets and clinking champagne flutes, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. I scanned the crowd, nerves jangling, until Richard clapped a hand on my shoulder. "There he is," he muttered, nodding toward the grand staircase. Jordan Harrington descended like he owned the shadows, every step deliberate, his charcoal suit hugging a frame honed by rooftop yoga and late-night runs along the Hudson. At 25, he was sharper than the family photos suggested. High cheekbones, lips curved in perpetual skepticism, and eyes the color of storm-tossed seas. Whispers followed him. The prodigy who designed half of Midtown skyline, the rebel who'd painted rainbows on his father's campaign banners during the last election cycle. He spotted us, his expression flickering from boredom to something unreadable. "Dad," Jordan said, voice smooth as aged bourbon, leaning in for a perfunctory cheek kiss. Then his gaze slid to me, appraising, lingering a beat too long on my crooked tie. "And you must be the arm candy." "Alex Rivera," I said, extending a hand, my voice steadier than I felt. "Your dad's right-hand man. Or left, depending on the merger." He shook it, grip firm, thumb brushing my knuckles in a way that sent an unwelcome spark up my arm. "Jordan." The disappointment. His smile was a blade, sheathed in charm. Up close, he smelled like cedar and citrus, the kind of scent that lingered. Richard launched into introductions, steering us toward a cluster of silver-haired donors, but Jordan's attention stayed pinned on me. "So, Alex," he murmured as we navigated the throng, his breath warm against my ear amid the din. "How'd my old man rope you into this? Blackmail? Bribe?" I forced a laugh, channeling the script I'd rehearsed in the cab. "Let's just say I'm a sucker for family drama. And your dad's scotch is top shelf." It was a weak opener, but his eyes lit with genuine amusement, the first crack in his armor. We played the part flawlessly at first, arms linked for photos, shared glances over hors d'oeuvres that passed for intimacy. Richard beamed from across the room, toasting with the mayor as if we'd saved his legacy. But Jordan was no prop. He leaned into it with a fervor that bordered on reckless. During the auction, as paddles rose for a Basquiat sketch, he bid impulsively on a vintage watch, then slipped it onto my wrist with a wink. "For my boyfriend," he announced to the table, voice laced with mischief. The word hit like a live wire. Boyfriend. Not pretend. The table chuckled, but my pulse thundered. By dessert, the champagne had loosened tongues, and Jordan pulled me onto the terrace overlooking Central Park, the city lights a glittering sea below. The November chill nipped at our skin, but he shrugged off his jacket, draping it over my shoulders without asking. "You know, you're better at this than I expected," he said, lighting a cigarette he'd smuggled past the no-smoking signs. The flame illuminated his face, casting shadows that softened his edges. "Most guys' dad hires bolt after the first glare from Aunt Claudia." I shrugged into the jacket, the fabric warm from his body. "I'm used to high-stakes negotiations. Pretending to like small talk with venture capitalists is child's play." He exhaled smoke toward the stars, studying me. "Is that all this is? Pretend." There it was, the hook in his tone, fishing for truth. My stomach twisted. "Lie," a voice urged. "Keep it light." But his vulnerability, raw in the half-light, tugged at something deeper. "It's complicated," I hedged, leaning on the balustrade. Below, taxis honked like distant geese. "Your dad's counting on me too. Sell the story." Jordan's laugh was bitter, smoke curling like a question mark. "The story? Yeah, that's us Harringtons. Always scripting the narrative." He stubbed out the cigarette, turning to face me fully. "What if I told you I don't want a script? What if I said you're the first guy in years who hasn't looked at me like I'm a headline waiting to happen?" My breath caught. This was the danger zone, where pretense blurred into peril. I should have deflected, cited the contract of our charade. Instead, words tumbled out, laced with half-truths. "Then I'd say you're braver than you know. And maybe I'm tired of scripts too." He stepped closer, the space between us electric, his fingers ghosting my sleeve. For a heartbeat, I thought he might kiss me, and God help me, I wouldn't have stopped it. But a waiter's cough shattered the moment, and Richard appeared, all bluster and backslaps. "There you boys are. Time for the family toast." As we re-entered the fray, Jordan's hand found the small of my back, a proprietary touch that felt anything but fake. I told myself it was the alcohol, the adrenaline. But deep down, I knew. The lie had teeth, and it was biting back. The morning after dawned gray and unforgiving, my head throbbing from too much Veuve Clicquot and not enough sense. I woke in my Brooklyn walk-up, Jordan's jacket still slung over the chair like a discarded confession. My phone buzzed incessantly, text from Richard. "Brilliant work, Alex. Promotion's yours." Then, buried among them, one from an unknown number. "Coffee? My treat. J." I stared at it, thumb hovering. Delete. Block. Run. But curiosity? Or was it cowardice? One. Sure. Where? We met at a hole-in-the-wall in Soho, the kind with mismatched mugs and baristas who remembered your order. Jordan arrived disheveled in jeans and a faded Columbia hoodie, looking less like a Harrington heir and more like the architecture student he'd once been. He slid a latte across the scarred wooden table, extra foam, just how I'd mentioned offhand last night. "Figured you'd need this after Dad's endless toasts." I sipped, the warmth grounding me. "You didn't have to. Last night was sufficient." His grin was lopsided, eyes crinkling. "Sufficient? High praise. But come on, Alex. That spark on the terrace? Not sufficient. Electric." He crept up my neck. He was too quick, too sure, disarming the walls I'd built around my solitary life. I'd dated sparingly since college, burned by an ex who couldn't handle the closet I half lived in for work's sake. Jordan, though? He wore his queerness like a badge, unapologetic, and it drew me in like a moth to flame. We talked for hours about his latest project, a queer youth center in the Bronx funded under the table by Richard's discreet donations, my grind from Queen's kid to Wall Street drone, the mutual ache of families that loved hard but understood little. He laughed at my impressions of Richard's boardroom quirks, and I found myself confessing the fear that kept me single. Rejection from the one person whose approval I craved most, my own father back in Flushing. a stoic mechanic who'd never uttered the word gay without a grimace. By the time we parted, promising a real date, no pretend, he insisted, doubt not at me. This wasn't the plan. One night, one lie. But as I watched him weave through the pedestrian crush, shoulders loose with that effortless grace, I felt the first fracture in my resolve. Word spread fast in the Harrington orbit. By Monday, the office hummed with speculation. Did you see Alex with Jordan at the gala? Cute couple. Richard pulled me aside during lunch, clapping my shoulder with paternal pride. Keep it up, son. He's smiling more than he has in months. Son. The word twisted like a knife. I was the imposter here, not the savior. But Jordan didn't wait for permission. Texts evolved to calls, late-night voice notes about a brutal client meeting or a sunset from his Tribeca loft. Our first real date was pizza in the park, grease-smeared boxes, and stolen glances under the Bethesda fountain. He kissed me there, soft and searching, tasting of marinara and promise. This is real, he whispered against my lips, and I nodded, swallowing the truth that lodged in my throat. The lies compounded subtly at first. When Jordan asked about my relationship history, I embellished fictional exes to match his parade of heartbreaks, painting myself as the steady type he needed. I've been waiting for someone who sees past the suits, I said, hating the half-truth. He ate it up, eyes shining with that too-quick trust, sharing vulnerabilities I'd never earned. The coming-out fight that left him estranged from his mother's side. The therapy sessions where he unpacked the weight of being the gay Harrington. Friendship wove in unexpectedly. Enter Mia, Jordan's best friend since Pratt Institute days, a fiery lesbian illustrator with a pixie cut and tattoos of circuit boards snaking up her arms. She cornered me at a gallery opening in Chelsea, Prosecco in hand. Hurt him, and I'll pixelate your face into 1,000 memes, she warned. But her hug later that night, fierce and welcoming, cracked me open. Through her, I met the orbit. Theo, the non-binary barista with poetry slams on weekends. Lena, Jordan's ex-turned-platonic confidant, who grilled me on intentions over dim sum. They pulled me into their world, brunch spots in the village where rainbow flags fluttered like old friends, pride after-parties that bled into dawn. For the first time, I felt seen, not as the ambitious striver, but as Alex, flawed, funny, finally free. Jordan's touch grounded me. Fingers interlaced during movie marathons, foreheads pressed in quiet moments when the city noise faded. Yet tension simmered beneath the bliss. Richard's praise turned possessive. He'd drop hints about long-term alliances, eyeing me like a merger candidate. And Jordan? His faith unnerved me. You're it, he'd say, casual as breathing, while I dodged questions about my past, fabricating alibis for weekends, working late, that were really me unraveling in solitude, journaling the guilt that festered. The first crack came at Thanksgiving. Richard invited me to the Hamptons estate, a sprawling colonial where waves crashed like accusations. Jordan's extended family arrived in waves, aunts with pearl clutches, uncles with golf swing boasts. I played the doting boyfriend, carving turkey with feigned ease, but Aunt Claudia's sidelong glares burned. Such a whirlwind romance. She cooed over pie, her smile venomous. However did you two meet? Through Richard, wasn't it? Jordan's fork paused midair, but I covered smoothly. Office proximity has its perks. Love at first spreadsheet. Laughter rippled, but his eyes searched mine later, in the guest room we'd share. That true? He asked, shirtless and vulnerable in the firelight. Close enough, I murmured, pulling him close to drown the doubt. Our bodies aligned, comfort in the tangle, but sleep evaded me, his steady breaths a reminder of the house of cards I'd built. Winter deepened, snow blanketing the city in hush. Jordan's birthday fell on a blizzard night. We holed up in his loft, fairy lights strung like stars, takeout ties steaming between us. He gifted me a sketchbook, blank pages for the stories I never told. And in return, I penned a letter, words pouring out in vulnerability, dreams of escape, fears of failure. Lies omitted, truths half revealed. He read it by candlelight, tears tracing his lashes. I love you, he said simply, the words a thunderclap. I echoed them, heart seizing. Love. It fit like a glove too tight, beautiful but binding. That night, as snow muffled the world, we talked until dawn, about futures, fears, the prejudice that shadowed us both. He confessed the isolation of his privilege. Dad loves me, but he fixes me like a flaw. And the world? They see the name, not the man. I held him, whispering assurances I prayed I'd keep. But misunderstandings brewed. Mia, ever the protector, dug subtly. A casual scroll through my socials revealing no trace of the exes I'd named. She confronted me over coffee, eyes narrowed. You're solid, Alex. But something's off. Jordan deserves the whole story. Guilt clawed deeper. I promised transparency, but delivered evasion. Then came the conflict. Richard's holiday party, a redux of the gala but higher stakes. Investors probed Jordan about settling down. And in a tipsy haze, he announced, Alex and I? Talking rings. The room erupted in cheers, but my champagne soured. Rings? We'd been dating 3 months, my lie a mere 6. Panic surged. I fled to the coat room, splashing water on my face, when Jordan followed. Hey, too much. His concern was a bomb and a blade. Just. Fast, I admitted, the truth slipping. Your family's intense. He softened, cupping my face. We'll go at our pace. But I mean it, Alex. You're home. Home. The word haunted me through January's chill, as our rhythm deepened. Weekends in the Catskills hiking frozen trails, hands gloved but hearts bare. Yet prejudice lurked. A client's homophobic slur at a dinner Jordan dragged me to, his restraint cracking into quiet rage later. Why fight it? I asked, bandaging his knuckles from punching a wall. Because giving in means they win, he snapped, then softened. You get that, right? You fought too. I nodded, but the lie echoed. My fights were internal, not paraded. Friendship strained too. Mia pulled back, her texts curt, sensing the fracture. Theo hosted an intervention brunch, all tough love and mimosas. Spill, Rivera, or lose the best thing you've got. February brought the storm. Valentine's Day, Jordan planned a surprise. Tickets to a Broadway revival of Angels in America, seats so close our thighs pressed through the applause. Afterward, in a candlelit bistro, he slid a key across the table. Move in. Let's build this. My fork clattered. The key gleamed like judgment. Jordan, His face fell, hope dimming. Too soon? Or, is it me? No. Panic laced my denial. It's work. The promotion. Richard's expecting. Dad. Hurt sharpened his tone. This is about us. The argument spilled onto the sidewalk, snow flurries whipping like accusations. You think this is easy? I shot back, voice rising. Balancing everything? He recoiled. Balancing? Or hiding? A cab horn blared, mirroring the rift. He hailed one. Doors slamming on. Call me when you're ready to be real. Alone in the flurry, truth crashed down. I wasn't balancing. I was buried. That night, I confessed to my journal, pages filling with the origin lie. Richard's plea. The pretense. How Jordan's quick fall had trapped me in authenticity I craved but feared. Weeks blurred in avoidance. Radio silence from Jordan. Mia's glares at group hangs I skipped. Richard noticed, cornering me in his office. Trouble in paradise? Fix it, Alex. For him. For us. Us. The family I'd infiltrated. Guilt propelled me to Jordan's door on a rainy March evening, script in hand. Full disclosure, plea for forgiveness. He opened in sweats, eyes shadowed. Alex, let me explain. Words tumbled. The gala, the deal, the fear that birthed the rest. I never meant to fall, but I did. Hard. Silence stretched, rain pattering like judgment. Then a sigh. I knew something was off. Mia suspected from week 1. Hurt etched his features, but beneath, a flicker. Why not tell me sooner? Pride. Fear you'd see the fraud. He stepped aside, gesturing me in. Sit. We're talking this out. Hours unfurled in raw honesty. Tears, shouts, the unraveling of myths. He admitted his own rush. Loneliness masked as boldness, clinging to the first real connection since his last heartbreak. I bared the insecurities, the immigrant parents' expectations, the closet's weight. Prejudice surfaced too. His family's veiled barbs, my father's silence on my coming out years ago. Dawn crept in as we mended, tentative. No more lies, he vowed, hand in mine. Build from truth. Spring bloomed with cautious joy. We navigated the fallout. Mia forgave over rooftop margaritas, toasting to messy beginnings. Richard, confronted, apologized gruffly, promising no more manipulations. I just wanted him happy, he admitted, vulnerability cracking his facade. Yet conflict crested in May, at Pride. The parade thrummed with color, drag queens on floats, allies chanting. Jordan and I marched with Mia's crew, rainbows painted on cheeks. But midway, a counter-protester slur cut through. Sick freaks. A scuffle erupted, Jordan shoving back, fists flying until cops intervened. In the precinct, processing the charges, tension peaked. This is what we fight, he seethed, ice pack on his jaw. Not each other. I nodded, but doubt whispered. Could I fight, truly? My world was boardrooms, not barricades. Release came with dropped charges, witnesses, Richard's pull, but the rift lingered. That night, in bed, he turned away. Are you in, Alex? All the way. The question hung. I thought of the lies that birthed us, the love that sustained. Yes, I whispered, pulling him close. All in. Summer sweltered, testing resolve. Vacations in Provincetown, beaches alive with queer joy, hands linked without fear. Friendships deepened. Theo's poetry night, where I read my first piece, voice trembling, Jordan's pride a beacon. Even family thawed. My parents visited, awkward but open, Jordan's charm bridging gaps over Eras con pollo. But climax brewed in August, Richard's retirement gala. Whispers of scandal resurfaced, an old rival leaking the arranged romance tale, twisted into tabloid fodder. Harrington Ayre's fake fiancé screamed headlines. The boardroom erupted. Richard faced ousting. Jordan, betrayed, confronted me anew. Did you know he'd spin it like this? No. Denial burned. But doubt poisoned us. Mia mediated, Lena advised, but trust frayed. The high point shattered at the event, amid crystal and conspiracy. An investor cornered Jordan. Your boy's a plant, son. Daddy's puppet. Fury ignited. Jordan stormed the stage during toasts, mic in hand. Enough lies. Alex isn't fake. Our love isn't. And neither is who I am. Applause mixed with gasps. Richard joined him, arm around his son. He's right. Time for truth, from all of us. Backstage, Jordan pulled me into shadows. I almost lost you to fear. Won't again. Tears mingled as we kissed, raw and renewed. Me neither. Fall leaves turned, mirroring change. We moved in together. His loft, my touches, bookshelves of dog-eared novels, a corner desk for late-night work. Prejudices faded, not gone. Family dinners still awkward, street stares lingered, but understanding grew. Richard mentored without meddling. My father called, haltingly proud. By winter's return, 1 year post-gala, we stood on that same terrace, city aglow. No more pretending, Jordan murmured, ring box in pocket. Not proposal, but promise. I smiled, heart full. Just us, real as rain. And in that truth, we found home.